Here's a short practice for the hips. For this practice, we might need a block. Set the block aside. Come into a downward facing dog. Feet, hands, hip and shoulder width apart. Just gonna sway the hips back and forth. You can bend the knees, pedal the heels. Good. Now bring the heels back down towards the mat. Inhale the right leg up. Bend the knee, just take a twist. Press the two hands into the floor. Try to turn the chest, turn the hip a little more towards the right. Take an inhale. And on the exhale, come into Pigeon Pose. So Pigeon Pose can do a couple things. We can start with the front shin parallel to the front of the mat. We can bring that heel a little closer to the hip. If you have your block, you can always take a block and just put it under that right hip for support. Or we can roll over to that right hip. We're going to come into this 90-90 position. And all we're going to do either way is we're just going to lean forward into this pose. So if you're in your 90-90 position here, you can lean forward. If you're in any of these other ones where you're upright, you just lean forward. You can bring the shoulders and forearms to the mat. If you have another block, one there, you can always just rest your forehead on that too. Take several rounds of breath here. Just relax into that right outer hip. Good, another round of breath. And at the end of the exhale, lift yourselves back up. Set the block aside. Downward dog. Inhale the left leg up, bend the knee, take your twist. Press two hands into the mat and then spin the ribs a little more towards that left side. You can spin the chest. Open the hip, inhale. And then slowly come into Pigeon Pose again. Shin parallel, heel tucked. A little bit better you can see it on this side. It is. I'll just bring that up here under the butt for that. I'm still leaning forward, or I'm in my 90-90 position. Leaning forward, whatever works. Either way, if you have your other block, you just rest the forehead on it. You might need to be up a little bit higher, depending on your hip mobility. Just take several rounds of breath here, just relaxing into that left outer hip. Good, one more round. And then we will press ourselves back up, set the block aside, downward facing dog. Take a breath here. And down. Now here, inhale, rock forward, bring the knees to the mat. What we're going to do is you're going to take your left knee, you're going to wrap it behind your right knee, and then as much as you can, sink back towards your heels. Now I'm going to grab my block just so I can show this. Sink back towards our hips, and then we can just lean forward into this outer hip stretch. Maybe you have a block and you're here. Maybe you have a block and you're here. We're going to feel it in the outer hips. A few rounds of breath. Good, one more round. We come back up, set the block to the side, we'll rock back forward, come back to our quadruped position. Good, and see if on the other side, take your right knee, place it behind the left, and just start to sink back, become a little bit more centered on the mat though, but sink back towards your hips. Might feel a little different side to side. Again, block options. Or all the way down. You might find one hip's a little tighter than the other. You might get further on one side, but just breathe into the relaxing pose. Breathe into the body. Good, take another round. And come back up, set the block aside. We'll roll back into our tabletop position. If you shake the legs out a little bit, you can do that. Good, come back to a downward facing dog. Inhale the right leg up. And then step the right foot behind the right hand. Spin the left heel down. And then come up into this straight leg position here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take your left hand and the block in your left hand, place it on the floor on the inside of that foot. You can put it at any level you like. And then reach the right arm up towards the ceiling. Press the right big toe mound, that inner part of the foot, into the ground a little bit. Try to encourage that right hip crease to move back. Good, fingers reach up. Good, take a couple rounds of breath. And then 2 hands down, block steps aside, downward dog. Inhale, left leg up. Step the left foot behind the left hand. Spin that right heel down about 45 degrees, grab your block and come up. I'll take the block in the right hand, spin the chest, spin the pelvis towards the front. Bring the block to the floor on the inside of the foot at any level you like. And then left hip crease moves back. Turn the chest and reach up. Press a little weight into that right hand. And spin the chest a little more as you reach up. Left hip crease back. Right hip butt moves a little forward. Take another inhale. And then undo that. Set the block aside. Downward facing dog. Now let's walk the feet forward behind the hands. I'm going to turn to face you. We're going to have the block in front of us. And come all the way up. Take your right ankle on the top of that left thigh. Bring the hands to the heart and just sit down. A little bit of balance to start, so you feel it in that right outer hip. Inhale. And down. Another inhale. And on the exhale, take a forward fold. Bring your hands to something. So bring it to the block or to the floor. Now if this hurts again, the outer knee, the right knee, kind of back off of it a little bit. And if you have your left leg straight and you're not getting any stretch, you can bend that left knee a little bit and kind of get a little bit more to those right external hip rotators. Good, another round of breath. And then come all the way up. Set the right foot down. Same thing on the left side. Left outer ankle to the top of that right thigh. Hands come to heart center and just start to sink the hips nice and low. Keeping the chest lifted as much as you can, so we're not going to be rounded forward like that yet, but stay nice and lifted. Get to work on a little bit of balance here, a little bit of stretching on that left hip. Good, breath in. And then fold forward, bringing your hands to something to block the floor. Should feel this in the left outer hip. If you're not, bend the knee a little bit. Good, another round of breath here. And down. One more inhale. And down. Come all the way back up. Hands to the heart.